Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, black people? How you doing? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. And also welcome to Ball Sports. The ballsportsnetwork.com is where we talk about all issues related to brothers on sports and society and everything else. And the big conversation for today is Patrick Mahomes from the Kansas City Chiefs, who just signed for a grip. He just signed for a big old pile of money, and he ain't never going broke. He'll be living like Buffett in a minute. And to talk about this is my good friend, Mr. Jeff Lightsy. How you doing today, brother?
Pretty good, Dr. Boyce. How about yourself?
Doing very well, thank you. And Jeff is just a sports genius and knows a lot about what's going on in sports and the NFL and everything, and the NBA and all of that. And I always ask Jeff all my sports questions, and he always has a good answer. So let's just start with the big question, man. What were your thoughts when you saw that Mahomes signed such a massive contract? I knew he was going to get paid, right? Anybody knew. Stevie Wonder could see that he was going to get paid, but $500 million, really?
So that's the thing, boys. So Patrick Mahomes, for all who don't know, signed a contract 10 years at an excess. He can earn over $500 million, basically, right? Like the contract in itself, the bare minimum he's going to get if he lasts the duration of the 10 years is $475 million. But if he hits all the incentives, he'll earn over $500 million, which is, like you said, $500 million, which is the largest sports contract in the history of all sports. Like not just the NFL or the NBA, like all of them, like baseball too. So what are you talking about?
Bigger than baseball. There's no baseball players that got that much.
There is no baseball player that has a contract that can earn them over $500 million. No, the largest one is Mike Trout. Mike Trout signed last year in 2019 a contract that'll earn him roughly $25 million. Whereas Patrick Mahomes, if he hits all the incentives and lasts the duration, will earn him $503. So it's almost $80 million more than what Trout even got in baseball. So yeah, over the same amount of years, 10 years. So it's pretty insane to see not only a football player, a quarterback, but a black quarterback get that much money and sign a deal that long. Like it's incredible. I mean, like you said, when we all knew there was like the Chiefs were going to hand Mahomes a blank check. Like if you watched Mahomes the last 2 years, he's different. Like he's just different than everybody else that plays. Like there's a few players that are just different when they play. Lamar Jackson's different when you watch him play. Patrick Mahomes is different when you watch him play. And so the fact that he's won an MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, thrown for 5,000 yards, had a 50 touchdown season, all before the age of 25, like it's just insane, right? And now that we're seeing quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Drew Brees play into their 40s, and he's 25, we knew he was going to get paid big time, and that's exactly what he did. It's incredible.
Wow. In case you just came in, I'm speaking with Mr. Jeff Lightsy, and he is a sports expert, and we're talking about Patrick Mahomes getting all that crazy money. He got $500 million. I don't know if you guys saw, but it was a 10-year deal. And I want to say hello to everybody on Instagram. If you want to follow the Black Financial Channel on Instagram, go just look it up, the Black Financial Channel or theblackfinancialchannel.com. That's where we do financial stuff. And so let me ask you this, man. What I've noticed with contracts is that when one player gets crazy money, the other team owners, get a little bit nervous because that means they're going to have to come back and match that. Like when the negotiations occur, they're always comparing, what they're demanding. The agent compares their number to the numbers of equivalent players. And here's the thing that I'm curious about, and I'd love to get your take on this as a really great sports guy is, there is no other Patrick Mahomes.
No.
Right? I'm a huge fan of my boy out of Baltimore. Give me his name, please.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I was gonna say Deshaun Jackson, but I know that's not right. Yeah, and he's out of Louisville, so I should know this, right? but he's not Patrick Mahomes, right? Yeah. So I'm trying to figure this out. So do you think that Lamar Jackson's agent, in a contract negotiation, might come in and still, to the Ravens and say, our guy's the best guy out there. He was on the cover of Madden this year, and all these other things. He deserves the same as Mahomes. Is that even a logical argument?
No. So what the consensus around the NFL is that Mahomes is just different, right? Like any and everybody knows, when you paying Patrick Mahomes, you're not going to pay anybody else like that, at least for the time being, right, as of 2020. But what Lamar Jackson or a Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson, guys whose contracts are ending or guys who are looking for new deals, can do is, okay, Patrick Mahomes is getting $45 million a year. We know we aren't Patrick Mahomes, right? But I might be worth $40 million a year. Like maybe if I was going to negotiate for 35 or 38, now that I see Mahomes is getting 45, okay, if I'm Lamar Jackson, especially if he goes out and wins a Super Bowl this year, he'll have everything Mahomes has. He'll have a Super Bowl. He'll have an MVP. He'll have a cover in Madden. All these same things that Patrick Mahomes had. Now, obviously, you can still, he will have that argument to say, I'm just as good. I've accomplished every single thing that Patrick Mahomes has accomplished. So he might shoot for $45 million. But say if he doesn't go out and win a Super Bowl, say if he, has another great season, loses in the AFC Championship to Patrick Mahomes or something, or even makes it to the Super Bowl and loses in the Super Bowl, whatever, he could still negotiate for $40 million, whereas he might not have had that leverage before this Mahomes deal, right? Like he might have only tried to negotiate for 37 or 38 or 39, but now he can shoot for 40 or 41 or 42 and say, I'm just as valuable to our team as Mahomes is to the Chiefs. And what a lot of the quarterbacks, most quarterbacks don't want to do what Patrick Mahomes did. They don't want to sign for 10 years because that means you're locked up to one place for 10 years. And a lot of things can happen to that team over the course of 10 years. Think about it, boys. In your life, things change in 10 years, right? Like you're not the same place you were 10 years ago. So Mahomes, like a lot of people don't want to be like, okay, I don't know what this organization or what this team or what can happen in 10 years. So I don't really want to stay tied to one thing, for 10 or one place for 10 seasons. So that was another thing that was very odd in the Mahomes deal. Now he got paid big money for that, but it still was a bit strange to see one player locked down to a team in football, because things change in football like crazy for 10 seasons. We normally only see that on a baseball style of thing. Like we normally don't see 10-year contracts in the NFL.
Well, I thought about that too. I mean, 10 years is just such a long time. It's a huge commitment for Mahomes and for the Chiefs. But I think more so for him than for them, right?
Yes.
But and I remember seeing that the minimum he's going to get is 141 million.
Yes.
If he breaks both legs,
he signed his name on dotted line last night. He was guaranteed 140 million for sure. Like that'll never change. He could stop playing football tomorrow and he'll have 140 million from the Chiefs, or be owed 140 million.
Wow. So even if he just decided to just walk away from the game, like
now if he retired, it'd be a little different. You don't get those same obligations. But if he suffered a career-ending injury tomorrow, right? Like he would still, like the Chiefs would still owe him 140 million. Like that won't change.
Interesting. Okay. Well, good for him. I think that's really cool. So I was curious to get your take, man, as a sports guy. I'm wondering, how do you think Dak Prescott might be feeling as he watches this happen? Now, let me ask you this. Did the Cowboys finally make the deal with Dak that they were waiting on, or is that still up in the air?
No. So Dak signed what's called a franchise tag, which means you're only guaranteed 1 year and 1 year salary. And so he signed a franchise tag for about $31 million, almost $32 million. But that's it. There's no financial stability with that, right? Like you get the 1 year contract, but say if Dak goes out and plays on this franchise tag and he gets hurt, well, the Cowboys can wipe their hands clean with him, right? Because they don't owe him any more money. They don't owe him anything. And he won't get what he feels like he deserves, at least what he's earned over the last 4 years. He won't get anything long term. So that's why the Cowboys and Dak, and the Cowboys obviously still have reservations about Dak. Like they don't know if he's their guy, because if You know, if you know if he's your guy, you get a long-term deal like what Mahomes got. Not a deal like Mahomes, but you get a deal, you know. So, but if your team is iffy about you, they twiddle their thumbs basically. They're 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you know, like it's almost like you know, you're my girlfriend but I ain't supposed to, I ain't showing you off, you know, like. So that's kind of what the Cowboys are doing with Dak, and that's why they because quarterbacks don't get franchise tagged. I mean, just to let you know, like I said, it's just a 1 year deal. You're only guaranteed one, and only quarterbacks that get franchise tags are teams that still aren't for sure about them. You see, Mahomes, he didn't get franchise tagged. Lamar Jackson won't get franchise tagged. Deshaun Watson won't get franchise tagged. Like, these are things that teams don't do with quarterbacks because you have to have a quarterback to win in the NFL. And so most of these teams give their quarterback long-term deals. The ones that get franchise tagged, like Kirk Cousins, they eventually, most of the time, a lot of times, they eventually move off of them. So Dak's in a peculiar situation, especially with the Cowboys, figuring the Cowboys normally pay their best players. They normally give them those guys deals.
Well, you know what? You know, I love Dak Prescott, but I understand the logic. You know, I kind of feel like, you know, if you're really trying to do whatever the hell it is that Jerry Jones has been trying to do for 25 years since the Cowboys won their last Super Bowl, I just don't – it's hard to look at Dak Prescott and feel like he's the guy that's going to really do it for him. You know, there's something just missing with that engine. The numbers are there. He's doing his best. I mean, you got this great running back, Ezekiel Elliott from Ohio State, you know, where I went to school. And, you know, and actually Ezekiel's dad is one of my Facebook friends, you know, so I'm real happy for him. But something isn't clicking, you know. And so I'm curious about this. So tell me about this franchise tag. Can a team do that to a player, like, for several years in a row, or is that kind of a one-time thing that they're going to do to Dak and they can't do it again?
They actually can do it for multiple years. Now, the more years you do it, the more it costs you. So what the franchise tag is, they take the 5 highest salaries, right, and they average them, and that at your position. So if you're a quarterback, the 5 highest salaries at your position, and they average them, and that's how much you'll make for 1 year, right? And so that they do that just to hold on to you. And most teams, they'll tag you and then they'll negotiate a deal, right? And they'll sign you long term, but it's just like a placeholder, right? And sometimes they make you play under the franchise tag. But if they decide to do it for 2 years in a row, then the price goes up. They don't do the average anymore. They take that price and I think they add like 20% or something. It's a percentage that they add to it. So it goes up every time they tag someone. Yeah, they essentially can do it. So a lot of teams sometimes, if they, you know, just want to hold on to a player for a certain amount of time but don't want to pay them, they'll tag them once, they'll take that 20% increase, tag them twice, and then get rid of them. All right. Now, I don't think that'll be the case with Dak. I think Dak will get a deal. But to me, it was definitely a slap in the face when they decided to tag Dak Prescott. Because like I said, normally they do these for position players that are like expendable. They don't normally do this for quarterbacks because good quarterbacks aren't expendable in the NFL. You either have one or you don't. If you have one, you're in good shape like Kansas City, like Baltimore, like Seattle. If you don't, you're in shape like Jacksonville or, these teams without good quarterbacks. So you're looking for one. If you're either in the business of having a good quarterback or in the business of looking for a good quarterback. Like there's no in between. So that's why it was interesting to see the Cowboys do that to Dak.
Wow. Everybody who just came in, I'm speaking with Jeff Lightsy Jr. from Ball Sports, and we're talking about Dak Prescott and Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, and the big $500 million contract that Patrick signed for, which was an insane amount of money. I was really surprised, but I wasn't surprised, because, the guy was so good. He just every time you thought that there would be a hole in his game, there were no holes, at least not last year. And what I really am thinking about, too, is I remember hearing that Patrick is also a really good baseball player. And, and that played a part in his ability to do what he does with the ball, the way he does those weird sidearm throws, whatever, but I'm thinking about that, right? There are other quarterbacks who played baseball too. They can't do that. Guy that plays, the brother that plays for the, you have the names in your head.
Russell Wilson, he played baseball. Russell Wilson,
well, he got paid though. I'm thinking about the short Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
The little engine they could, Now, he's a baseball player too, right?
Yeah, he actually got drafted number 9 overall, like in the first round of the MLB draft. Like, so he went number 1 overall in the NFL draft and number 9 overall, like a top 10 pick in the MLB draft. Like, that's how good he was at baseball.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's like you can tell there's a difference between the baseball quarterbacks and regular quarterbacks,
Yes.
but then there's a difference between Patrick Mahomes and everyone else.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just Patrick Mahomes. I mean, some people are calling him like the Michael Jordan of football, right? Like, it's kind of hard to compare, basketball players to NFL players, because NFL players, it's more of a team game. You need other people to do their job for you to be successful. Whereas basketball, if you're Michael Jordan, you're LeBron, you can go out, and if nobody can stop you, they just can't stop you. And then you can guard the best player and stop them. So, like, it's a little more impressive as far as basketball. But for a quarter or for an NFL player to be that impressive to where they're comparing you to basketball players, that's how good Patrick Mahomes has been. Like you said, and so just like there's other people that play basketball that aren't Michael Jordan, there's a lot of other people that play baseball that now play football. They just aren't Patrick Mahomes. They aren't Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes' dad was also a MLB player. Like, he played professional baseball at the highest level in the United States. So that's the kind of background he comes from. Yes.
Oh, okay. So he's been kind of groomed for the psychology of professional sports,
Yes.
which is pretty huge, because I imagine a lot of those guys who are first generation,
Yes.
professional athletes, just handling the pressure and just even knowing what that's like, they get taken down by that. So let me ask you this. So in terms of Mahomes being, I believe is he a black quarterback, or is he biracial? Is he something else? Like,
He's a black quarterback. Like, he's definitely a black quarterback. He is, and that's a thing. A lot of people feel that Patrick Mahomes is someone who's helped the NFL, as crazy as it may sound, helped the NFL open their eyes to what's taking place in our country right now. Because we obviously know the NFL has been blind for years to what's taking place with black people, right? Like, it's either you make us $1 or you don't. Like, so that's why when Colin did what he did, the NFL kind of shunned him and obviously blackballed him from the league, so much so that he won in court, proving that they did shun him from the league. So we know that. But when Patrick Mahomes got on made a video with these other black players across the league, saying Black Lives Matter, a lot of folks, insiders in the NFL, felt like that opened their eyes to what is actually taking place and what kind of forced their hand, not really necessarily forced their hand, but made it, okay, maybe we need to issue an apology for the kneeling. Maybe we need to do this. Now, obviously they never addressed Colin directly, which they should have, but they did, try to come up with some excuse or whatever, say we were wrong, and their stance against the kneeling and stuff like that. So, and a lot of people feel like Patrick Mahomes and his involvement have a lot to do with them taking that stance.
You think they're going to sign Kaepernick in the near future?
No.
Really? And all you guys in the audience too, give me a yes or no if you think that Kaepernick will be coming back or not. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you think Cap is coming back. Why do you think they won't sign him?
Because one, he hasn't played in the NFL in 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, and that's to no fault of his own. That's because, like I said, they blackballed him from the league. So when you haven't played football in that long, now Cap's only in his early 30s. Like, he's still fairly young for an NFL quarterback, but he hasn't played in the league in that long. And then he will be and one thing about the NFL, one thing that they hate, besides Dallas, most teams hate distractions, right? The Cowboys welcome distractions, but Jerry Jones obviously isn't in the business of Black lives or, caring for players, outside of fighting against racial injustice or whatever. So he's not going to be in that. So outside of the Dallas Cowboys, players don't like distractions. And Colin Kaepernick, if he signs to a team, will be the biggest celebrity on the team. Like, no matter what team he's on, he can be on the team with Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or whatever. He's going to be too big of a celebrity as their backup. It's not going to be a starter. Every team already has their starter, or at least their starter in place for this season, to be a backup. So I just think that that'll carry too much weight. And I still think, even with even the climate that we're in, as long, I hate to say this, boys, but as long as Donald Trump is the president of the United States, there won't be a team that's going to take a risk on Kaepernick, because they're going to feel too much pressure, and they feel like a certain base, a certain group of people won't watch their games, or if they're allowed fans in the stands this year, won't attend their games or boycott or whatever, even with the climate that's going on, simply because Colin actually, was fighting for things like this, what's happening right now, 4 years ago. So I'm not so sure. I don't see Colin playing again, but I hope to see Colin at the forefront of a lot of things, a lot of changes that I hope to see take place within the NFL. But do I think he'll ever play on the field again? No, I do not.
Interesting. Everybody who just came in, I'm speaking with Jeff Lightsy Jr., and he's a sports expert, and we're talking about a lot of different things. It's been a great conversation. He has so much information about sports, and he's over at the Ball Sports Network, theballsportsnetwork.com. BOSS, BOSS stands for Brothers on Sports and Society. So not just sports, but everything in between that involves brothers. So make sure you hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button. If you're in there, please hit the thumbs up button. And also, if you're interested in learning about stock options and how to add that to your portfolio, my stock options investing masterclass starts tomorrow night, Wednesday night, July 8th at 8 p.m. So feel free to go to drboycemasterclass.com. That's drboycemasterclass.com. So let me ask you this last question, Jeff, man. I really got to ask you this because the reason I'm going to ask you this is not because I'm being an asshole, but because everybody in my feed was asking me, was bringing this up. And so, when you talk about, wealth, like you're the sport, you're really great with the sports. And I talk a lot about the wealth issues. A lot of people take some degree of offense to things like this. Athlete signs a big contract, then you see his girlfriend or his wife, and you see Becky or Karen, depending on how old the guy is, right? You see Karen's daughter Becky sitting next to him, and now this is Mahomes' girlfriend. I don't know her name. I would say let's just call her Becky, but that would be mean. And here's the thing, right? When people talk about wealth and generational wealth and $500 million of wealth and all the wealth that athletes make and all the financial success and accolades they get, a lot of people get offended that so many of these guys don't think a black woman is worthy of being next to them when they're doing all this, that they just don't feel, and so with Mahomes, I think that there's that contradiction. Like, okay, you're saying Black Lives Matter, but two things. One, when you were younger, you did have some crazy tweets about Trayvon Martin, but I think we can let at least a little bit of that slide because he was so young. But then number two, you don't respect black women enough, to feel that they're worthy of being next to you. And now with him, it might be complex because his mother's white. Yeah. But I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that in terms of, because we know that there is kind of this weird issue where so many athletes, they get these massive, gigantic contracts worth tons of money. And, and they grew up in the hood around black women, black women stood by them in the hard times. A black woman will stand next to you when you broke, but then guys get paid and it's like, oh, well, now I can upgrade to, I'm now dating, Teresa, you know what I mean? What goes through your mind just as a black man with a great black mom? I know your mother, just what goes through your mind when you kind of see some of that, from a social standpoint?
It's just, it's different, I don't really know how to describe it, right? Like to each his own, like if that's what you want to do, that's, by all means be happy. Obviously we prefer, if you did it certain, like, generational wealth, help a certain group of people that, deserve to be helped and finance the people that allow the next, Patrick Mahomes, allow the next whoever to come up. And that's not to say you can't still do that, right? It's like you said, to each person is different. I don't really like, relationship goals and stuff like that. Like I'm not the relationship expert, but I will say for Patrick Mahomes, in this case, you almost have to address that question to his dad. Right, because Patrick Mahomes' dad is a dark-skinned man that was a professional athlete that did marry a white woman, right? Like, and then had this child that grew up to be Patrick Mahomes, and so all he's ever known is, well, my dad married a white woman, so why wouldn't I get with a white? You know what I mean? Like, so it's almost like I'm not a. You're the doctor. Like
that's real. I mean, that's a really good. Yeah, his father was Patrick Mahomes Sr.
Yes,
he was a baseball pitcher. What more do you know about? I got his stuff in front of me. His bio. He played from 92 to 2003 for the Twins, the Red Sox, the Mets, Rangers, Cubs, and Pirates. What? Go ahead, please continue.
Yeah,
I didn't
but that's
break.
what I'm saying. So I, from what I understand, the Patrick Mahomes Sr. was the one who had the rougher upbringing that made it big, that married the white woman, and then that had the child. Now, so when you're Patrick Mahomes the second or junior or whatever, you're the one that, okay, my dad was the one, I didn't have a rough upbringing. I probably went to private schools. I earned a Division I scholarship in multiple sports, right? So it's a lot different for him, So, and then to see that he has a white mom makes it easier for him to be attracted to white women. So that's why, it's not, for me in his case, it's a little different than what it would have been for, say, someone like his dad.
Interesting. Well, it's that's always a weird topic to bring up because nobody wants to go around legislating who people are allowed to date, right? That's not the goal. And I mean, I got people in my own family that that chose to marry someone who wasn't black. But I would definitely say, just for full disclosure, I made the decision when I was 16. I said, if I get married, I'm marrying a black woman just because, right? And also, as a person who talks extensively about generational wealth, you got to think about, well, where does this money go in case something happens to you? Because we're all going to die at some point.
Yeah.
But then also, I think I felt the need to bring up this, again, I didn't want to be the asshole in the room, but I brought up this asshole in the room topic because I hear from so many black women who just just feel hurt and disrespected. Like, what is going on? I remember Harry Edwards. Now, this was back in the day. This is over 25, 30 years ago, though. But he said that the owners of the 49ers, I think, brought him in as a consultant to work with their black athletes to help them with coping skills and all that. And so the first thing he said, okay, I want to meet with the wives of all the black players, right? He said, I walked in the room. There was not one black woman in the room. He said, I thought I was in the wrong room. And so so really it's kind of I'm sorry, I think and I'm not talking about Mahomes because I don't know his family, right? So let's get past the specifics of his scenario. But I almost feel like it's important to kind of talk about that a little bit, because I know personally that if I'm out here doing this rah black stuff every day, it would probably look a little weird if I'm like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, we're all black first, be one, and I got a white woman on my arm. Like, because to me, the greatest sacrifice I can make is my life, who I choose to marry, who I choose to give my wealth to. And so if I'm saying, here, I'm here to uplift black women, but y'all ain't good enough to be next to me. That's almost like, the way we might treat a dog or something, right? Like, I love my dog to death, but my dog's not good enough to be at the dinner table. My dog, I love dogs, but dogs are not equivalent to me. I consider them to be, something that's subhuman or whatever, right? So I don't know. What do you guys think? Give me a yes or no. Do you think that this is even something worth talking about? Or do you think we should just say, you know what, let him live, let him just do his thing? Because I'm not trying to in any way be harsh on a 25-year-old brother that's done so well. He's such a great quarterback. And I know he's supporting movements in every way that he can. And I'm sure his girlfriend's a nice lady. But I really kind of wonder, at the very least, that should be an open conversation. I think it should be. So, Jeff, I didn't even ask you a question, but I'm gonna let you get the last word. Yeah. So you can either respond to what I said, or you can lay out something that's on your mind on this issue to kind of close us out. I know we said we're going to talk for 10 minutes, but I think this is such a great topic.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you saying, but go ahead.
Oh, it's no problem. Yeah. So like you said, I mean, I definitely love the concept of, generational wealth through the black community, right? Like, so, I definitely will marry black. I definitely will be with a black woman. Like, that is something that I choose to do. But for those who don't choose to make that same, sacrifice, as you called it, or, don't choose to make that same choice, to each his own. But I do definitely feel like whether you're Patrick Mahomes or any professional athlete or any, entertainer or any like scholar or whoever, someone who was able to make better for their lives than it was, for their lives or their kids' lives or whoever, to be able to give back and make sure you support your community and do things that, even if you don't publicize it, or even if you don't, have to publish it and send it out to the world, but allow, each one teach one, teach somebody else how to garner resources for themselves, how to develop the community and develop yourselves, and be able to, funnel that wealth back into someone and your group of people that need it. That, I guess that would be my best way explanation to in that.
Yeah, it's a tough topic. It's really I know it's a little bit outside of your expertise on sports, but I really just think as black men we got to talk about it on some level, and I think it would probably be less effective if we were two women who were mad about this. I think as men, I think we can actually accelerate that conversation a little bit more. Because I personally think that that's something to at least process, like when you talk about love and relationships, a lot of people act like you can't control who you fall in love with and all that. I don't believe that shit. I believe you can decide, okay, this is for me. This is not for me. This is where I'm going to, bring my resources. I want my money, to stay in my community, period. So anyway, but God bless Pat, and congratulations on his new contract. I think he's a great quarterback, and I'm sure he's a great guy. And also Jeff Lightsy Jr., that's the brother I'm speaking to right now. He's at the ballsportsnetwork.com. That's where his videos are. But also, Jeff, where can people follow you on Instagram or Twitter, anywhere else?
On Instagram and Twitter, it's just JLIGHTSY and the number 7. So J Lightsy 7 on both IG and Twitter.
Okay. Well, I'm telling you, this guy knows sports really well. Let me tell you guys a little story. Some of you who are sports fans know about a guy that's on ESPN or Fox or whatever every day named Nick Wright. Is he on Fox or ESPN?
Fox Sports.
He's on Fox Sports. And Nick Wright is just a sports genius too. I mean, he just knows his stuff. He knows his numbers. He knows his analytics. And Nick used to be my producer on a radio show I did in Syracuse many years ago, 14 years ago. And I remember when he was a student, I remember how obsessed he was with sports and how he just knew all his data, knew all his stats. So when I saw him as one of the leading anchors on ESPN, I wasn't surprised at all, because I remember I said, oh yeah, that kid just loves sports. Well, I'm gonna tell you, Jeff is the same way. Jeff is just like Nick. So if you want to get on the ground floor on somebody that is black and intelligent, but also just really knows his stuff and is really into what's going on in the world of sports, and you're a sports fan like me, go follow Jeff on Twitter and Instagram. That's J Lightsy. Is it J Lightsy Jr. or J Lightsy 7? J Lightsy 7. J Lightsy and the number 7, just like Kaepernick, and you'll get your fill every day. So thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you hanging out with us today, and I thank you guys for hanging out with us. And we shall see you soon. So take care, and please have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boy's TV. Here we are.